We all know the pyramids. We've seen the photos, we've watched the documentaries, we've even memorized the names: Khufu, Khafre, Menkaure. But here's a question most never ask: who built them? Because those pharaohs didn't lift a single stone. They didn't push 2.5-ton blocks across the desert. They didn't sweat under the Egyptian sun for decades. Tens of thousands of people did. So where are they? Why don't we know their names? And how could they build something so eternal and be completely forgotten? This is their story. For centuries, we were told they were slaves. The story goes, they were whipped, chained, starved, forced to work under cruel masters. It made sense to some. After all, how else could such a massive structure be built? But that myth doesn't hold up. Ancient Egyptian texts don't describe mass slavery, and archaeology doesn't support it either. There are no mass slave graves, no evidence of chains, no trauma markings on bones consistent with systemic abuse. Then in 1990, a discovery changed everything. Just meters away from the Great Pyramid of Giza, a group of tombs was unearthed. But these weren't royal tombs. They belonged to workers, simple, modest graves, but they told an incredible story. The people who built the pyramids weren't slaves. They were laborers, craftsmen, artisans, engineers. They lived in a purpose-built village, now known as Workers' City. It had streets, bakeries, sleeping quarters, even beer breweries. Yes, beer. Because in ancient Egypt, it wasn't just a drink, it was a daily staple. Each worker received up to 4 liters a day, not to get drunk, but to survive. It was safer than water. The teams were organized, structured. 20 men pulled each stone. Dozens more carved, measured, guided, and managed. Their crew names were proudly painted onto stones: the vigorous gang of Khufu, the enduring ones of Menkaure. They worked in rotations, likely for months at a time. When one shift left, another came in. Some returned home, others never left. Their bodies tell us what their voices never could. Bones show muscular growth, especially in the shoulders, legs, and lower backs. But they also reveal pain: spinal compression, arthritis, worn knees, hernias, broken fingers. And yet, some of these injuries were treated. Bones had healed cleanly. Some skulls had even undergone trepanation, primitive brain surgery, signs of organized medical care. They weren't left to die. They were treated, protected, respected. And when they died, they weren't dumped into mass pits. They were buried, with food, with tools, with amulets. That's not how you treat slaves. That's how you treat contributors. Some were buried with scarabs carved with prayers, others with figurines meant to guide their souls. Even the simplest graves showed intention. Because to these people, building the pyramid was a sacred task, a divine service to the gods and the king who claimed to be one. They may not have written scrolls, but their legacy was carved in stone. They didn't have tombs covered in gold, but they helped build the most iconic tombs on Earth. So how did we forget them? Because history tends to remember names, not hands; power, not sweat; the pharaoh's face, not the face of the man who dragged the stone. They didn't write books. They didn't command armies. They didn't have monuments built in their honor. But they made monuments that outlived empires. And maybe they knew that was enough. Their names didn't echo through history, but their work did. We remember Khufu. We remember the pyramids. But we forget the people who placed every stone, who woke before sunrise, who worked with calloused hands, who returned each night aching, exhausted, and proud. People who likely died young, but left behind something that would last forever. So the next time you look at a pyramid, don't just think of kings and crowns. Think of the backs that bent, the hands that bled, the feet that burned. They didn't rule history, but they built it. Follow at Epoch Light for more stories from the people who made history and were erased from it.